This is an advanced tutorial on making the cube shape on a square 1, which is step 1 of Lars Vandenberg's method. Now, I think this video will be more like a constant work in progress rather than just one tutorial, because it's a very hard thing to learn, and as far as I'm aware, this is the first attempt of putting it into a video. And so I hope that you guys, that as I discover more stuff, I can keep adding on to this video and keep making it better and a better tutorial. Basically, what you're trying to do most of the time when you turn it into a square shape is break it down into a situation like this, where you have one pair of edges put together down here and an ugly pair, and the same on the top, so that you can flip it up so that this good pair goes with that edge pair, and the same thing happens up here, and you have these two kite shapes which easily turn into a cube. But getting it into this situation is the hard part. Often, you will have a situation like this, where you have this shape that you want on the bottom, but you also have this bad situation on the top that you don't like, where these edges are over here and not over here where you would like them. And sometimes this is easy to fix, and sometimes it's harder. The thing that you want to try first is to flip up this pair so that they're opposite of that pair, and you make a cube shape on the top with this shape on the bottom. Then you merely twist it a little bit so that instead of these staying up, these two stay up, and same with this pair. Instead of these going down, this goes down. And most of the time, that will give you these two shapes that you want. It will not always work. Sometimes, when you flip up these these pairs, and you turn it over, and flip it back, then you'll still have one of these situations that you don't want. So what you want to do in that situation is undo the moves you just did, and move these three edges on whichever side has this to the movable side. And then you flip up this ugly pair over here so that you have just this one pair on the bottom. And you move it to whichever part stays down there so that it won't match up right here. So like, I had it here, but I would not want it right there, because then it would have two bad situations, which is easy to fix, but for quickness sake, you want to move it over here. And then you do your square, and you have your two situations, and you can make it into a square. Now, let's say you did have a situation like this, where you have this edge pair and this edge pair right next to each other on both sides. This is easy to fix. You just line them up so they're perpendicular, and so that when you slice it, these will be separated, and you just flip it, and you have your two good shapes. Now, a lot of this method is intuition, and you have to realize that sometimes making that first easy method is the best thing that you can do. Like when you have all of these pairs already matched up, then it really is best just to go ahead and make this shape and do it the normal way, or the easy way. However, the situation I just gave you, like that, it can actually be done faster than what I just showed you. If you flip it up right here so that you have these and these, then you're actually past the hemisphere stage and enter the second move, So you just need to split it in half, and you have your two barrel shapes, flip it, and then you have your two kite shapes. So a lot of what you're doing with the square one, you just need to think about. And there are some other hard cases where I'm not sure, and if you have problems doing this easily, then I'll just have to try to show. And once again, this is a tentative project, and I hope to add more of a tutorial when I discover more about how to make this cube shape faster. For now, however, I'll just have to leave you with some example solves. Okay. Now, seeing as I've only really begun doing this, these are probably going to take a while to do the example solves, because I'm not always sure what I'm doing, and I just play around with it until I figure it out. So I hope that you'll be patient until I can figure out a good way to solve this. So what I would do right here is I'd flip this down, just so that I can separate some of it and figure out what to do from there. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Since I forgot to put this in the tutorial, when you have just one of these ugly pairs, you either want to get rid of it or you want to make two of them, because they can kind of cancel each other out. So what I'm doing here is I'm flipping this up, and from this situation right here, this is also a nice shape to have, I can actually make two of those bad edge pairs, because I can flip this down, and you have these two situations that you had before, which are easy to get rid of. Well, maybe not as easy as I thought. So in this case, I would flip one up, kind of like I did before, rotate this bottom, and then see if I can do that square thing, which I can. And I have the two kites, and I have my cube. Okay, what I think I'm going to do for this case is try to pull these two edge pairs off, so I have this ugly edge pair and this ugly edge pair. What a lot of people would do is pull these two edge pairs down at the same time, leaving this good edge pair and that ugly edge pair down, but that's bad because you can't use this to cancel out that. Although, if you do that, then you would be left with this nice shape where you can break off two ugly edge pairs to cancel out, but then you'd still be left with this one, which is hard to keep all of those separate at the same time. So I'm going to pull off that one and hide it, and we have our two ugly edge pairs, which we can do what we did before, flip it, and we have these two nice shapes where we can make our kite and have a square. This is a shape you want to stay away from, where you have these two edge pairs directly opposite each other, because often what will happen is that they will get split up, and oh, well, in that case that's a good thing. But most of the time, this seems weird, most of the time this is a shape you will want to stay away from, because often what will happen is you'll split these two things apart, and you'll have an ugly edge pair and two of these edge pairs, and it won't work out well. However, in this case, if you split this down here, then you have a bunch of good pairs and an okay pair. So that then you can do your semicircle deal, and then you just have the easy way. with this shape, you could break off this pair and break off this pair and have two ugly edge pairs. But up here, we already have one ugly edge pair. So we'd want to break off this edge pair and have these good pairs down here. Now, if this pair up here was already paired up, I would do what I said before and break off these two and work with those. However, since I already have one bad edge pair up here, I am going to... What am I going to do? This is difficult. Flip some of that up, rotate, and flip one of these good edge pairs down. Then I will make the square, rotate it, undo the square, and we have our two nice shapes and a square.